Not every finale is created equal, whether it's a season's end or the closing of an entire series. There's a lot resting on whatever type of finale audiences are served, and it's safe to say that not every finale lives up to what we hope for. So I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 8 perfect TV finales ruined by one thing. 8. Bodyguard series finale, a change of style. Now, it's not necessarily that this episode was perfect but featured just one bad moment. Rather, it was that the series set itself up for an incredible finale that was then let down at the last minute by the creator Jed Mercurio deciding he didn't actually want to be Jed Mercurio anymore and throwing out his signature style. Mercurio is to thank for a few powerful, successful series that are beloved by British audiences, and so viewers thought they'd gotten used to his usual style. He's all for setting up interconnected, complex plots with shocking twists and well-seeded character development. So when Bodyguard's final episode had been given a good old shave by Occam's razor, people were left very disappointed. The series was an incredible hit in the UK, with audiences of millions flocking to watch it each week, and each of them was more than ready to have their minds blown by a really complicated ending. Only there was no big ending twist. Everything turned out exactly how it was most likely to. The bad people did the bad things, the explanations for things were totally sensible and normal. It was all, dare I say, a bit boring. So used to bombastic closing acts and unpredictable ending twists we are that Bodyguard's final offering just wasn't enough. The show had set its own standards so high that Mercurio couldn't possibly meet them with his "the twist is there is no twist" conclusion. 7. True Detective Season 2 finale. Almost everyone just dies. The season had been a bit of a train wreck throughout, and it was long overdue an ending to wrap it all up nicely. Frank Semyon's long walk to nowhere makes for some really nice visuals, and along the way we see other characters' similarly bleak deaths play out with appropriate cinematic flair. For the sake of wrapping up a struggling series, the episode was exactly what was needed. However, it's certainly not without fault, and the most egregious fault is the fact that almost everyone dies. It's not common for a series to end with 90% of its central cast biting the dust, and I feel like that's probably for a reason. It doesn't feel good or satisfying that everything we've invested our time into just amounted to nothing. Yes, the few survivors have well-selected outcomes, but their lives are certainly only viewed in the shadows of all the adjacent deaths. Even with all the work that went into building an overly complex narrative, it just feels like a cheat when the end wipes out anyone who would have lived to tell the tale. 6. Supernatural Season 11 finale. It made the whole season redundant. What otherwise would have been just another heartfelt, action-packed signature Supernatural finale was ruined by one lame decision, and that was to have love prevail. Usually it's a lovely sentiment when love wins, and it is properly the right tone for Supernatural for love and care to be the thing that conquers all. But, not like this. The season had seen angels and demons alike band together to produce a soul catcher, a weapon they could use to defeat God's evil sister Amara and save the world once again. So that sounds cool, right? Well, it turns out all their teamwork and unlikely allyship was a complete waste of time, because when it came down to it, all they needed to do was have a good chat with Amara. Dean manages to talk Amara back into sanity, reuniting her with her brother and promising that family is more important than any stupid, jealous rage she was feeling. Yes, it's very sweet and all, and fundamentally it is a feel-good, morally just bit of telly, but when you realise it makes all the build-up a giant waste of time, it just ruins the vibe. Audiences were left feeling let down and put out, having dedicated hours of watch time for what was essentially a cop-out ending. 5. Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life finale. The baby cliffhanger. Fans of the Gilmore Girls will remember that the original ending of the show sees Rory turn down a proposal from boyfriend Logan in favour of going out and living her journalist dreams. About a decade later, the show was revived for one season called Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life, and we found out how things had gone since. Amongst the newest additions to the canon, we find that Rory is now in a rather unhappy relationship with boyfriend Paul, who can best be described as chronically absent. In spite of her rejecting him years earlier, Rory clearly still has feelings for Logan despite currently being in a relationship, and the two end up getting together. Roll on the end of the series, and as the titular mother and daughter duo sit enjoying the sun together, Rory reveals that she's pregnant, and then cut to black. It had otherwise been a pleasant series and a lovely final episode, but with the last-minute bombshell, people were left scrambling for more information that they would never receive. Who was the father? How did Rory feel about the pregnancy? We'll just never know. It left viewers frustrated that they waited so long to hear from the Gilmore Girls, only to leave the series with another huge unanswered question. And for some people, Rory's predicament really tainted the light in which they see her arc, thinking it rather a sad occurrence, not in line with the optimistic tone the show was going for. 4. The Fall series finale. He gets away with it. It sure was a controversial decision to end this acclaimed thriller series with murderer Paul Spector taking his own life, thus sparing himself from a life in prison. After what could absolutely fairly be called a rather horrific 3 seasons of Spector assaulting and murdering women, the decision to have him never face justice was kind of shocking. With all that we watched him get away with, as an audience I think we were entitled to a bit of catharsis, hoping that Agent Stella Gibson would finally catch him and put him away for good. Instead, we finished the episode with a bitter taste in our mouths, as we came to accept that the murdered girls' families would never get justice and Agent Gibson would never get closure. The series as a whole is undeniably dark, but for the most part expertly crafted. It's a real shame that in a final episode that was otherwise equally as thrilling, interesting and character-focused as any other, they chose to ruin the show's final impact by denying us what we really wanted to see. 3. How to Get Away with Murder series finale. Wes comes back. Throughout the final season, we got drip-fed clips of a scene at Annalise's funeral, attended by who we presumed was Wes due to the fact he was played by the same actor, Alfred Enoch. At long last in the final episode, we find out who this Wes lookalike really is, and it's Wes's son. Now, I know that people can have strong genetics, but this was just taking the mick a bit. It felt like they did it purely so they could have the ambiguous funeral scenes throughout the season, which for the most part could have just been written off as dream sequences had they not decided to follow it through and to have baby Wes be played by Alfred Enoch. Having the grown child, Christopher, bear no resemblance whatsoever to his second parent, Laurel, to the extent that he literally is his own father, was incredibly lazy, and it made for some really comical visuals on what otherwise could have been impactful scenes. The funeral, his first day teaching, instead of being emotional, full circle moments, all I could think was that is Wes and you can't tell me otherwise. Bringing back the same actor to play his own son was a cheap gimmick that, along with terribly aging all the other actors, utterly ruined an otherwise brilliant, beautiful final episode. 2. The Haunting of Blime Manor series finale. The terribly aged cast. The final episode of Blime Manor was great in a lot of ways, and I'd be lying through my teeth if I claimed I didn't shed a tear, or burst into tears several times completely. It was emotional, it tied everything together, and it brought things to an understandable and satisfying end. It's just a shame that it did that with a terribly cast bunch of actors. The gimmick of revealing the narrator as the older version of a main cast member meant that she had to be mostly unrecognizable up until the reveal, and they achieved that by casting an American woman to put on a really terrible British accent and pretend to be someone that she had absolutely no physical resemblance to. Not limited to the one fake Brit, we got to look at an entire room of miscast people, who were also nowhere near the ages they were meant to be. We assumed that a maximum of about 15 to 20 years had passed, and yet everyone was aged up by 30 to 50 years. They were fully elderly. It's nonsensical, visually off-putting, and the stupidity of the aging process really takes away from literally everything else. It's such a shame because it could have been really beautiful, but instead all the beauty was overwritten by Carla Gugino trying to sound like she's from somewhere near Manchester. 1. Clickbait series finale. The stupid reveal. As far as viral Netflix thrillers go, Clickbait was pretty darn good. Its unique premise centered on a missing family man, Nick, who appears in an online video holding signs claiming that he's abused women and that when the video reaches 5 million views, he's gonna die. Rushing against the clock to save him, his family, friends, and the police have to work to find out where he is, why he's there, and if the claims on the cards are true. Flash forward to the finale, and out of nowhere, it's revealed that the root of all the problems has been Nick's colleague/secretary, who we encounter a sum total of about 4 times before the finale. The episode itself isn't technically too bad. Flashbacks revealing the narrative from her view are pretty satisfying, all the actors put in good performances, and it draws to an all wrapped up neat ending. However, it was all stunted by the fact that this twist was just so stupid. It wasn't seeded at all, the motivations didn't check out, and the dumbness of this one big reveal meant that the entire series was retrospectively left in a different, way more disappointing light. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of 8 perfect TV finales ruined by one thing. Have you watched any of these? How did you feel about the finales? Let us know in the comments down below. And in the meantime, remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. As always, I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.